Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 10 of the 24 Tour de France, brought to you by Ketone 8. It's what the pros like to drink for quick recovery. They get it for free, but if you want to save 15%, use code BUTTERFLY in your next box of Ketone 8s, and that'll save you a bunch of money. Now, let's get into today's stage. At 115 kilometers, stage 10 that is, it's about 110 miles in length. It's the fifth chance for the sprinters to be able to win a stage. Beniam Girmay has won 2 stages. Cavendish has broken Eddie Merckx's record on stage 5. Dylan Groenewegen's won a stage. But Jasper Philipsen does not have himself a stage for Albacete de Koenig. Now, if I want to dissect Jasper Philipsen's Tour de France performances so far, he doesn't look as sharp as last year in 2023 when he won the green jersey, but he does look pretty good. If I take you back to Beniam Girmay's second stage victory when they're going up the 1 kilometer uphill finish, I can show you pictures of Jasper Philipsen jumping out to the left side of the road, brushing shoulders there with Turgis, coming around the Pascal Ackermann rider of Israel Premier Tech, and then going all the way to the line with 40, 50 meters to go, still with a few inches lead there on Beniam Girmay, all the way up to the Air Train won his second stage here at the Tour de France. But what I'm trying to point out, Jasper Philipsen looks to be on good form, just not as sharp as he was last year. The problem that Albacete de Koenig are having is Mathieu van der Poel's not as sharp either, and last year Mathieu van der Poel was a big-time lead-out man when we're talking about helping Jasper Philipsen win stages. We start getting into today's race. Once the flag drops, nothing's happening. It's a sleeper, no doubt about it, so hopefully you slept in. Now we're going to see one attack just before the sprint line competition. That's Kobe Goosen up there and Lotto Destiny rider Harm van Hoeke. As those two riders go up the road, they're going to get maximum points with 130 kilometers to go at the sprint line. Then behind we see Jasper Philipsen. He's going into the line. He'll get the next place points along with Beniam Girmay, the Air Train, sitting on his wheel. So Benny loses a couple points here on the green jersey, but they wisely sent a teammate up the road to take some more points away from Jasper Philipsen. Now what happens between 130 and 10 kilometers ago? Almost nothing. 60 kilometers ago, there was a little bit of excitement with the peloton getting a little bit of crosswinds. We see UAE team Emirates at the front. After that, it went null and dull right there as nothing was happening. You could take a long nap while you're sitting on the Chesterfield. You might as well lay down. Now, I want to take you back to some interviews, though, so I can try to point out what some of the riders are missing when they're trying to dissect the races. Tadej Pogačar said today at the beginning of the race before he took off from kilometer 0 in his interview, well, he said, intelligently riding is important, but power is the be-all, end-all. And he's correct. When I'm up here and I'm dissecting races and I'm saying somebody's a knucklehead for this or somebody's a knucklehead for that, you can still win a lot of races with power. Tadej Pogačar is right. But Tadej Pogačar needs to understand that tactical riding along with his power could have already won him 3 Tour de Frances. If I go back into the 22 Tour de France in 2011, Tadej Pogačar lost that stage on Col de Grenade because tactically he made mistakes. Big-time mistakes that used energy. Then, of course, he forgot to eat, which is a tactical thing, too. If you don't remember to go back and get food, or if you've dropped all your teammates and they're not there to give you food, then you bonk going up the last climb and you win the Tour de France. So when he's talking about tactical stuff not being as important as strength and power, I agree. Strength and power is the be-all, end-all when it's the first tool in your chest, but the second one has to be sharp because when you get to the Tour de France like we are here in 2024, well, we're not at Strade Bianche where you don't have Primoz Roglic, you don't have Remco Evenepoel, and you don't have Jonas Vingegaard there. So those 3 riders are on your level there, Tadej Pogačar. So you want to make sure you sharpen up that second tool in your chest, and it better be tactics. Otherwise, we could end up seeing a repeat just like we did at the 22 Tour de France on stage 11. Now, I want to bring up a little bit other conversations with Tadej Pogačar about Jonas Vingegaard. Tadej Pogačar says that Jonas Vingegaard is just watching his wheel and they're trying to play mind games with, of course, his UAE team members. That's not the case. We look over at the interview from Jonas Vingegaard and Jonas Vingegaard says, we have our strategy, we're sticking to it. I like what Jonas Vingegaard is saying and I believe 100% what he's saying, and I think his tactics are correct, especially all the way up through the first 9 stages and, of course, at the end of here, stage 10, that Jonas Vingegaard has ridden his bike tactically. He's lacking some power a little bit, so tactically he's got to sharpen up every tool he can tactically so that he can make up for some power. You can never make up for too much lack of power, but you can lose a little bit. You can make up for lack of power by staying in the draft and staying on the wheel and don't open up to the gap to important riders. So what Tadej Pogačar said, where Jonas Vingegaard, where he says, well, he's just watching my wheel, that's just not true. Stage 9, when we go back to that, on the gravel stage, when Tadej Pogačar is attacking with 85 kilometers to go, It wasn't Jonas Vingegaard that chased you down, Tadej Pogacar. It was Remco Evenepoel that chased you down. How you missed that tactic is beyond me, because your teammates and your director sportif should have highlighted what was happening in the stage after the stage in the riders' meeting. But Jonas Vingegaard wasn't the one that chased you down. Jonas chased down Remco Evenepoel because Visma Lease Bike don't want to be chasing one Tadej Pogacar and one Remco Evenepoel. They want one Tadej Pogacar out there riding solo, burning all of his legs up while they chase back there. Maybe they get some help from Red Bull Hansgrohe. Maybe they get help from Soudal Quickstep. Probably not much, but a little bit. But for sure they'll get some help from Ineos back there. Then Tadej Pogacar, your legs, because the second tool in your chest, the tactical tool, is not as sharp as it should be, and it could cost you a Tour de France. So I agree with you 100%, Tadej Pogacar, that power is the be-all, end-all, but intelligent riding is super important. And like we see with Visma Lease Bike, where he's a little bit more correct on his tactical riding, and he'll make up for some of the power he's missing by riding on the back wheel there of Tadej Pogacar or Remco Evenepoel, whoever wants to be chasing down the other rider. But Jonas Vingegaard was happy to let Tadej Pogacar go up the road at 100 kilometers, at 85 kilometers to go on yesterday's stage 9. Now I'm going to have one other comparison as we get further into the stage, but I'll use Mark Cavendish as an example. Well, the peloton, as I said, went under 60 kilometers ago. UAE Tim Emirates were on the front, and now it's just going curb to curb. Under 50 kilometers ago, it's still curb to curb, and they're going to be that way under 20 kilometers ago, basically identical throughout the whole stage from 60 all the way into 20 kilometers ago. Now, I want to go into that interview with Mark Cavendish. During the stage, they showed an interview where Mark Cavendish won this stage in 2013. 11 years ago was stage 13 of the Tour de France, and his version of telling the story how he won it, well, he said his Quick-Step teammates, they were on the front driving it. No one else wanted to control the pace. Then it split in the crosswinds, and his team controlled it, and he ended up winning the stage. Well, it's a little bit different story if you hear it from Nico Roche. Nico Roche happens to be the commentator for Flow Bikes. So Nico Roche was telling his version of the story that it was his Saxo Bank teammates that were driving it through the crosswinds while Cavendish's teammates weren't doing that much work. It was Saxo Bank that was actually pulling it, driving it, and kept that break away. And then Mark Cavendish's team came to the front to control it right at the finish. He won the stage. Alberto Contador gained some time on Chris Froome. There's two different stories, right? Much like Tadej Pogacar's story where he thinks Jonas Vingegaard's only watching his wheel, which isn't really happening. Mark Cavendish believes that in stage 13 of the 2013 Tour de France, it was his team driving it. If Alberto Contador is in that group with his Saxo Bank teammates, you know Alberto Contador's team is driving it 100%. And Mark Cavendish didn't even mention Alberto Contador in his interview. Didn't mention Nico Roche in his interview, who rode for Alberto Contador on Saxo Bank and was in that break and giving us his version of what happened. So anytime you're listening to a rider, even myself, sitting up here on the Butterfly Effect and Beyond the Coverage, maybe I'm telling the story a little bit off. Maybe I have a different perspective than some of the other riders had out there. So you have to figure out while you're sitting on the Chesterfield which one's right. I'm going to believe Nico Roche, who rode for Saxo Bank, because Alberto Contador, I was teammates with Alberto Contador, and I know if there was crosswinds and he's got Chris Froome that he's got to beat at the Tour de France, he's going to drill it 100%. Alberto Contador gained about a minute time there on Chris Froome, didn't win the Tour de France, but put on a show on stage 13 of the 2013 Tour de France, and Mark Cavendish completely left that out. So that's one story right up here for the Butterfly Effect on stage 10 here of the 24 Tour de France. Now let's get back into the racing. Like I said, nothing has happened except for at 130 kilometers ago. We're at 10 kilometers ago. We see it's curb to curb. 9 kilometers ago, Beniam Girmay sitting second. Intermarché is racing right now for Beniam Girmay to protect Greenpoint's jersey, and that's why we see Georg Zimmermann at the front. Now, if you were sleeping, let's get time to wake up, because we're 6.5 kilometers ago, and the road starts to open up. As it starts to open up, it's Albacine de Koenig that's flying up the right side. They got control of the peloton. They got 8 riders at the front of the peloton, and we're about 5.5 kilometers ago. I wouldn't call it 100% control of the peloton right now, because the road's going to start to bend left. Once it bends left, Albacine de Koenig and Israel Premier Tech that are on the right side of the peloton, they got to move over left, because Visma Lease Bike has the front of the peloton now, and the island is separating the road, so everyone on the right had to come left. Visma Lease Bike's on the front. They're not going to hold it for too much longer, because once you get near 3 kilometers ago, you know Jonas Vingegaard doesn't want to be at the front. But they did have Wout van Aert and Christophe Laporte on their wheel, keeping them at the fine position. Now we start coming into 3.5 kilometers ago, though. EF Education have control of the front of the peloton. They got 3 riders on the front. They're trying to keep Vandenberg in a good position. They're not trying to lead him out all the way into the last 250 meters to go with 3 riders. They're just trying to keep their sprinter Vandenberg at the front for as long as they possibly can. So at 3.5 kilometers to go, this is as good of a tactics as you can come up with. Then you take it. This is how you do it if you don't have pure power. Tactically, you have to be riding smart at this moment. So that's why they got Vandenberg at the front of the peloton, trying to keep him out of danger. Now we go under 3 kilometers to go. Things start getting interesting as they start coming into 2.9 kilometers to go, because if I back the film up just a hair, there was a roundabout and we see Astana had 4 riders there, and it's Cavendish that's at the back of those 4 guys. They're a little bit 3 trains back there as they're going through the roundabout, and we see Mark Cavendish and Astana teammates jumping over the center of the roundabout. As they come through the center, they're still in good position, but the problem is we're coming in at 2.9 kilometers to go. It's a left turn, and we look up front, just in front of there, Mark Cavendish. Well, Beniam Girmay in the race leader's green jersey there, he's coming up the kind of center, closer to the left side of the peloton than Cavendish is over at the right, and Beniam Girmay is going to go over there and bump who I believe is a Visma Lease bike rider. Visma Lease bike rider is going to bump the 2 Intermarché riders, which are the teammates of Beniam Girmay. Wasn't his fault, it's just the way it's playing out, but Beniam Girmay is going to be left without teammates as the 2 Intermarché riders start not falling, but going over to the right side there, and that's going to pinch off Mark Cavendish. That means the Max Missile right now, he doesn't have a shot at winning number 36 here at the Tour de France because he's getting pinched off. Now we look at the front of the peloton. It's Aber Hansen up there going full gas in the KOM jersey. He's going to pull a few hundred meters. But when I back the film up just a hair, when they come out of that left turn there, we're going to see that Astana riders are looking back. Now we go up to the front as Aber Hansen starting to pull off the front. We're going to see the next team, Israel Premier Tech, starting to get on the front with Lotto Destiny. Those 2 teams are wrapped around the front, but no one's got control of the peloton. Now we get an aerial shot with about 2 kilometers to go, and we see what happened from that left turn at 2.9 kilometers ago. We see the destruction that it caused with the split in the peloton. You see chaos back there as we got about 40 riders up front. We got 1 Lotto Destiny rider chasing like crazy with Mark Cavendish on his wheel. And once we start looking further back, well, the race leader's yellow jerseys back there, that's Tadej Pogačar. But remember, they need a 3-second gap here, not 1 second anymore when we're talking about field sprints at the Tour de France. So he's got time to get back up. The peloton, the camera comes back up to the front. Astana's all over the front right now with 2 riders, but they're looking back over their shoulder because they can't find Mark Cavendish. As they finally realize that, well, this isn't a good place to be, they pull off the front. And now we see that it's Albacine de Koenig getting on the front with 1.6 kilometers to go here in stage 10 of the Tour de France. As I read off the list here at the front, that's Jonas Rickert up there, Robbie Geese sitting second, Matthew van der Poel third, and Jasper Philips in fourth. When we look further back down the group over to the left side there, we see that it's Laporte coming up the left side, and he's got Wout van Aert, the big guy from Visma Lease bike, trying to find some form and trying to win him a stage 10. So as we start seeing those 2 riders from Visma Lease bike flying up the right side, we'll see that up front, we're coming into 1.6 kilometers to go. We see Jonas Rickert, he's done. He's pulling off. It's time for Robbie Geese to go to work. And Laporte's got a bit of a drag race. As Laporte knows that they got to kind of funnel into each other and make one group. There's still a bit of a drag race at the front between Visma Lease Bikes, Laporte, and Robbie Geese. As we look further back in the peloton, Beniam Girmay's back there. We see Pascal Ackermann from Israel Premier Tech. His team did a fine job. Jaco Alula over there is flying up the right side. They got 3 riders, but they haven't reached the front yet. We look further in this group. Well, it's getting pretty exciting as we see that it's Gaviria in here from Movistar too. As Robbie Geese is coming into 700 meters to go, he's got the front of the peloton here. Christophe Laporte's going second. We see in fourth is Beniam Girmay. Wout van Aert's in front of him. Matthew van der Poel and Jasper Philips in fine position. And then we start coming into the left. As the left starts proper, it's going to be followed quickly by right. Once we go into the right, well, things start getting interesting here because we're going to see Pascal Ackermann, where Sam Bennett and Gaviria start moving back over the top there of Beniam Girmay in the race leader's green jersey and Wout van Aert. Up front, it's still Robbie Geese on his wheel, Christophe Laporte, Matthew van der Poel, and we see Jasper Philipsen, who's looking for his first stage win here at the Tour de France. They're coming through the last left turn. As they come through the left, Robbie Geese punches it out of the left, then his legs start to blow. We see Matthew van der Poel start going to work. If I back you up to earlier sprint stages, Matthew van der Poel didn't have the legs at this moment, but it looks like he does on stage 10. As he hits the accelerated button, we see Matthew van der Poel going full gas, and Jasper Philipsen locked onto his wheel. Now what's happening in the back when I give you the aerial shot? Well, Beniam Girmay's flying up the right side with Gaviria as he's passing Pascal Ackerman and Sam Bennett. Once he gets up to Sam Bennett, he's going to bump Sam Bennett hard as Pascal Ackerman's just in front of him and Gaviria is just over to the right of Pascal Ackerman. Now up front, we're coming into about 200 meters to go. All of a sudden, Jasper Philipsen knows he's got to go to work because Matthew van der Poel's legs are starting to die. Jasper Philipsen throws in a huge acceleration at just about 200 meters as Gaviria is flying up the right side, but he's starting to lose some power there from Movistar. Jasper Philipsen throws in his jump. He goes from about, not quite the center of the road, but somewhere near there, and then throws all the way over to the fencing, the right fencing, but it's clean because nobody's actually level with him at this moment on stage 10. Once he gets over to the fencing with about 150 meters to go, Jasper Philipsen's throwing everything into it. He's got Pascal Ackerman behind him, and he's got Beniam Girmay, the Eritrean, who's won 2 stages of the Tour de France already, as the Eritrean's trying to pass Pascal Ackerman with 100 meters to go. We look up front with 50 meters to go. Well, Jasper Philipsen knows he's got it won because he looks left over his shoulder, realizes he's going to get his first stage victory here at the Tour de France. As he crosses the line, he'll win the stage. Second on the stage, Beniam Girmay, with just about 100 meters to go, started his sprint there on Pascal Ackerman, then came by the Israel Premier Tech rider to get second on the stage and protect his race leader's green jersey here. Pascal Ackerman, he'll round out the podium here on stage 10 of the Tour de France, while Van Aert finished just behind those guys. When we start looking at the general classification, Tadej Pogačar, of course, held on to the race leader's yellow jersey. Nothing changed in the top 10. When we start thinking about tomorrow's stage 11 of the Tour de France, remember, we're getting back into the mountains. Looks like it'll be a good stage for the breakaway riders to get away. But maybe UAE Team Emirates and Remco Evenepoel have some big balls and they'll just pull all day. We'll see a GC battle and a stage race battle amongst the GC favorites if they got the big balls. Like and subscribe. I'll see you on tomorrow's stage 11 of the Tour de France.